That's basically the only type of patterns you need when you want to make those glitch samples, or like these glitchy synth or bell patterns, because I will show y'all an effect that will turn this into a crazy melody. Yo guys, what's up? Welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make crazy beats in the style of NARDO WICK and the Kid Laroi. So first of all, I'm going to show you all the sample. Then after that, I will break it down and show you how I mixed it. Then after that, I will show you my mastering chain. And then I will break down the beat I made to the sample. And I know it's been a long time since I broke down the beat, but here we are again. And the beat and the sample are pretty simple, but super hard. So it will be pretty easy for y'all to remake these type of melodies and these type of beats. So please make sure to stay till the end. I will even show my mastering chains for the sample. Please make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and make sure to turn on the post notifications. And yeah guys, let's go. So for the first thing, I used Analog Lab 5 and I went into the Nightfall bank from Prod by Haze, and I used this Cotopia preset, which is a simple synth pad, and I laid down this hello repetitive pattern. I didn't even randomize the velocities. I basically just laid down an E minor chord, but then used the G note and turned it into triplets and just repeated it the whole time. That's basically the only type of patterns you need when you want to make those glitch samples, or like these glitchy synth or bell patterns, because I will show y'all an effect that will turn this into a crazy melody. And first of all, the pattern is sounding like this. And now for the effects on the synth, I just had this finisher micro and I had it on almost 100% on the mix, and that's basically it. But I added this gross beat with the tremolo fast preset, so it gives the sample the rhythm. Then I had this simple EQ where I cut out some of the frequencies that I didn't like. Then this simple soothe on its default settings, which is basically just an automatic EQ. And then this EQ where I cut out a lot of the lows and some of the low mids, and I ducked some of the highs just to make it sound a bit more vintage and to get it a bit more into the background. And I turned it 25% in mono because it was a bit too wide for me. And then after that, I rendered it out, put the declicking mode on generic, the mode on stretch, and this is how it sounds like now. And as you can see, I basically just crossfaded it right here, which you can do if you press Shift and F. And then you have these fade things right here. And that's basically what I did for the first melody. And now let's go on to the next element. Then for the next thing, I used this perk loop, which is named Demon Girl. It was at 160 BPM, so I brought it into time, put the mode on stretch and lowered the volume a bit. And first of all, this is how it sounds like. Then I added this Dynasty perk loop, which was at 182 BPM, and I panned it 25% to the right, put the declick mode on generic and the mode on stretch, and both of them together are sounding like this. And then for the third perk loop, I had the Seasick perk loop, which was at 162 BPM, and I panned it 25% to the left, put the mode on stretch, and all of these three perk loops together are sounding like this. And then for the effects on these perk loops or texture loops, I had this soothe on its default settings, and then this EQ where I cut out a lot of the lows and low mids and a lot of the highs just to duck it more to the background and to give the whole sample basically more texture, and I added 56% in mono. For the next thing, I used the 0G Eastern violin pack, and I went into this folder and then into the process folder, and I picked this violin phrase, which was in F minor, and as y'all know, I was in E minor, so I just pitched it down by 1, put the mode on stretch, put the declicking mode on generic, and then for the second phrase, I basically just did the same thing, and I picked it out of the same folder. And this is how the violin phrases are sounding like. And for the effects on these violin phrases, I had this fully parametric EQ too, where I just EQ'd out some frequencies that I didn't really like or that weren't really necessary for the whole sample. Then I had this Valhalla Vintage Verb where I tweaked the mix and the decay. Then this soothe on a hard setting and a knob to 5.1, just because I wanted it to remove the harsh frequencies. And then I had this EQ where I cut out a lot of the lows and some of the low mids and ducked some of the highs and some of the mids, just to make it sound more vintage. Then for the next thing, I used Analog Lab again, and I used the Alchemy Bank, and I picked the Flawless bass, and I basically just laid down this pretty simple bass line. It just had to give the whole sample more of a full feeling, and I didn't even randomize the velocities. I just left it how it was, and it's pretty repetitive, but that's the type of vibe I was going for. And the finished bass line is sounding like this. And now for the effects on this bass, I had this simple soothe on the hard setting and the knob to 9.1. Then this arc compressor from Waves just to compress the bass a bit. Then this decapitator with the default preset, I just tweaked the drive, the tone, and I put the style to E. Then this fully fast distortion on its default preset and a mix to 35%. Then this EQ just cut out some of the muddy lows and a bit of the highs. It's basically just there in case I want to drag it over here if the bass has too much high end, and I put it 100% in mono. Then for the mastering chain, I will show you all the plugins pretty quick. I had this Goodhart's can opener with these settings. Then this arc compressor, which I didn't touch at all. I basically didn't need it. Then this Goodhart's walk control with these settings. This RC20 just for the distortion, the magnetic, and the EQ. Then this L1 limiter stereo from Waves with these settings. This EQ just to cut out some of the muddy frequencies. And this EQ, which I didn't touch at all. It's just there in case I want to cut out some more frequencies. And that's basically for the mastering chain. Then after that, I ran at the sample out, put the declicking mode on generic, the mode on stretch, put it on the 8th mixer track. And on the 8th mixer track, I had this simple EQ where I cut out a lot of the frequencies that were like too harsh or too loud. Then this simple sound shifter pitch stereo from Waves where I pitch it down by 3. And this EQ where I just cut out some of the muddy lows. And the finished sample is sounding like this. And now I just open up the FLP for the beat, and the first thing I did was obviously dragging in the sample, and I put the declick mode on generic, put the mode on stretch, put the trim knob fully in, because after I pitched it down it was at C sharp minor, as you can see right here, and I wanted it to be in the key of D, because I really like the sound of the 808s on the note of D. I laid down this hi-hat pattern, which is a bit more complex as you can see. I basically just freestyled some rolls, and then after that I had these low notes, which I just wanted them to be there, just to accent the hi-hat pattern a bit more, and then I just copied it over, but switched it up a bit as you can see right here and right there. And the finished hi-hat pattern is sounding like this. Then for the next thing I had this hard snare from DB and the Wizard. I basically just laid down a pretty simple snare pattern or like a clap pattern, and then just had some accent notes right here and right there, and then just copied it over again and I lowered the volume of these accent notes because I didn't want them to be as loud as the clap, so the clap has a bit more punch, and the hi-hats and the claps are sounding like this. Then for the next thing I used the same kit again, which is the Distra drum kit right here, and I just used the vintage snare to accent the other snare a bit more, and I pitched it down by 4 because I thought the other snare didn't have enough low end, and this is how these 3 patterns together sounded like. Then for the next thing I used the Distra openhat from the same kit again, and I basically just laid down the pattern on a 1, 3, 5 and 7 just to accent the 808 notes. And the openhat pattern is sounding like this. Then for the next thing I added some rises, which is the Cody SFX out of my Stash Volume 2. And this effect from DB and the Wizard again. And they're basically just there to give the whole beat more power when it drops. And now for the 808 pattern, I basically just laid down this pretty simple pattern. I always had it on a D note besides at the end, as you can see, because it was the root note from the sample. And I played with the velocity right here and right there, just to give the 808 pattern more variation. And the full beat with the 808 pattern and all them drums is sounding like this. So yeah guys, if you all enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to my channel. Make sure to turn on the post notifications as well, that would really mean a lot. And make sure to leave a cool comment. You can either just say how you like this video, or you can drop some video ideas for future videos. And by the way, thank you for almost 2.2k, y'all been going crazy over the last few months. And don't forget, I will drop a tutorial every Friday, and I'll probably stream every Friday. And if I won't, I will inform you all about that on my social media, so y'all make sure to check them out in the description. And yeah guys, see y'all.